You're listening to the Pigskin Cafe, a podcast covering the wild world of college football. On tap for today are hot takes, controversy, and analysis on your favorite team. Here's your host, Hampton Sipper, in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back into the Pigskin Cafe. My name is Hampton Sipper, and I've got Chase Haney and Graham Haney joining me tonight. If you're new here at the Pigskin Cafe, be sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a like, leave us a comment, and hit that notification bell. Follow us on social media. We love hearing from you all there, and we appreciate all the support that we received this season. And now we look ahead to Week 5. Cannot wait to talk about that with these two guys here. I'm going to throw it over to Chase so he can guide us through this beautiful conversation we're about to have.
Yep. Hey, grateful again, as always. If you're tuning into this, whether you're in the car or in the shower, those are the prime places to listen to a podcast like this. So I hope you're off to a great start to your morning or finishing up work. So let's dive right in. Let's start in. If you don't know this, I live in Dallas, Texas. So let's start right here in Jerry's world.
Come on.
Arkansas versus Texas A&M. And fellas, I just a little bit of context. One thing that's really interesting is that Texas would claim to be a massive football state. Nobody's debating that. They fit right into the SEC. With the move from UT going over. What's always been interesting is that Dallas does not have, beside the Cowboys, they do not have like that big college team. And I think at one point it might have been SMU, but let's be real. Mm-hmm. No one here was alive whenever that was the case. So this is a really good matchup, period. But it's a really fun matchup because there's a ton of people that went to both colleges that live in Dallas. And it's just a fun thing to get excited for, where college football feels like it's here. And there's people who tailgate, but there's a ton of people that just might not get to go to other games because it's too far to drive to Arkansas or drive all the way down to College Station, that will get to enjoy this game. So with that being said, let's preview it. We've got Arkansas versus Texas A&M. Hampton, I'm going to start with you. Just give me kind of your brief. What do you think is going to happen in this game, and who do you think comes out on top?
Well, you set the stage well, Chase. This is always a really fun matchup. It's always a really good game for the most part, too. Always close. No team ever gets blown out. And it's kind of like a sneaky, underrated rivalry in the SEC. I think to preview this game, you kind of have to look back at this past week. Arkansas went to Baton Rouge and put together a very impressive performance. KJ Jefferson especially, and the freshman tight end, I think his last name is Haas, I believe.
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it. Number 9. I just know he's number 9.
Long-time listener of the show.
Long-time listener and friend of the show, number 9 for Arkansas. I feel like we're playing NCAA quarterback or tight end number 9, but they were lighting up that LSU secondary, which is a weakness for that team. And the problem was that their defense wasn't doing much stopping of the LSU offense, especially from about the last drive in the second quarter to the end of the game. And with A&M, they play Auburn, who is a dumpster fire offensively, especially at the quarterback position. Connor Weigman gets hurt. Max Johnson comes in, gives them a little bit of a spark. And no one's going to say Max Johnson is a superstar, but he's a really efficient game manager. He's got a little bit of moxie to him, a lot of experience. He's been in the SEC. I think this is his 4th year, if I'm not mistaken. So going into this matchup, I'm leaning A&M mainly because I really like their defensive line. I think they're going to be able to control the lines of scrimmage, and Arkansas's defense is worrisome to me. So I'm going to go with the team that has better defense. I think with a guy like Reuben Owens and a couple other running backs that A&M has, they're going to be able to run the ball pretty effectively. Max Johnson will be able to hit shots down the field to guys like Evan Stewart, Malik Muhammad, and Aniyah Smith. So give me Texas A&M, get a big victory before welcoming in Alabama the next week at home, which is going to be a very fascinating matchup.
Graham, same question to you.
Yeah, okay. I didn't really remember the question, but I was just going to go into it. So yeah, I'd say you kind of
Let's
caught me
see
off
which way
guard
it
there.
takes it then.
Yeah. Yeah, don't remember the question, but I'll just go. So both these, A&M's coming off a very high, very high because they really dismantled a bad Auburn team, which up to this point had not been tested very well, and they go to Auburn goes to Cal, ekes one out mainly because Cal blows it. I think that A&M, they showed that they can put together drives. Their offense looked, um, you know, like there was some rhythm there. That's a great word, I think, for it in the sense of there was not, one or two plays that defined the game. A&M just kept putting together drive after drive after drive, and they kept putting Auburn in places where Auburn was in tough situations. They were never, having to push the sticks to try and score. I think that A&M looked really good. I think last year, if you look back, what was the story of A&M and Arkansas? It was Arkansas was looking really good, and we thought Arkansas was the second best team in the West, and then A&M kind of puts everybody on notice that it can be us. It could be us, and then A&M ekes out A&M ekes out a win last year, don't they?
Yep,
Yeah,
they
by
do.
3. I think the same thing's going to happen this year. I think this is going to be a really close game. A&M coming off a little bit of a high. Weigman, getting hurt. Max Johnson, Hampton, like you said, game manager, but not as explosive as Weigman. I think that KJ Jefferson makes enough plays to keep Arkansas in this game, but I think Arkansas is going to have 2 weeks in a row where they're going to lose by a last-second field goal.
I will throw this grenade out there and then just move right along. So I have this weird feeling, nothing to back it up other than Texas A&M seems to always get in this position where they finally, and the A&M fans are like, finally we have our quarterback. And then just about as quickly as that gets out of their breath, he gets hurt. And all over the spectrum, how long that takes to get him back. But then they end up with almost seems with the guy that they were trying to push away, which is just, I think, maybe the story of being an A&M fan during this era. But let me say it like this, boys. I just got a feeling that A&M's going to run away with it. I think this might get ugly. So I'm willing to say it. I'm willing to be wrong. Let's move right along.
Don't let the shrapnel hit you from the grenade you just threw out.
I know, yeah, really. I can't stand that I'm even saying that about A&M, but I think that their Super Bowl still in front of them with Alabama coming into town. I just think that they're moving and grooving. If this is played after, let's say, an Alabama loss, if that were to happen, totally different scenario. Okay, let's move right along, fellas. One of the games that we hinted at last pod was Notre Dame versus Duke. So I think Duke is Methodist at one time versus the Catholics. Methodism versus Catholicism. How do we like it, Graham?
I don't think John Wesley can outlive the Pope on this one. I think the
Methodists don't really care about John Wesley anymore. Just a little tidbit.
The only John Wesley we care about is Mr. Kircher.
Right. That's right.
I think they did away with what he thought a while back. Kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, I'm not the one with the seminary degree. It was just a mere trying to tie the bow, and it's okay.
It came unraveled.
Yeah,
Graham, what I meant, just to explain it, because you're right. Sure. Theologically speaking, I think the Methodist tradition, denomination, has walked away from John Wesley at least in the past 20 years. Has new phone who dissed John Wesley's theology. So just to kind of put that all in perspective, continue on with your train of thought. Catholicism versus Methodism here in the Pigskin Cafe.
Yeah. Hey, just some good, just some table chat going on. I think Notre Dame is 5.5 point favorites in Durham, so Notre Dame's going on the road. I think Notre Dame's going to respond well. They know that they have to win out in order to make it. I think Notre Dame wins this one by at least 2 touchdowns. I think that's the story of the game. Sam Hartman's going to respond well. He's going to an environment that he's familiar with. Give me Notre Dame big.
Yeah, it would be more interesting if I disagreed, but I don't. I'm with you, Graham. Game day will be in Durham, and it's going to be a raucous environment. I'm sure Duke is going to be ready for that game. But ultimately, Notre Dame's going to be ticked off with how that game ended. I think they respond well. Sam Hartman has a big day. Sammy has a lot of heart. Shout out Kyle Edwards. They're going to respond. I got him by 17.
Interesting. Okay. Hey, let's move right along to Ole Miss LSU. So I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to even tee this game up. Man, this is just one of those SEC matchups, though, that it's like you're probably not cutting it on, but if you don't watch it, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, did you watch the Ole Miss LSU game?" You're like, "No, I didn't." They're like, "Man, it was a great game," and it's just kind of one of those good matchups, but have already kind of taken a loss. So, Graham, I don't know. I wish I had like a really thought-provoking question. Maybe simply, who
you were doing so good.
I know. I ruined my rhythm. With my church history context that we added to that last matchup. Graham, I guess simply, who do you think wins this Ole Miss LSU matchup?
Yeah, I'm looking at the over-under, the point total for this one. It's at 66 points. I think the first one to 50 is going to win this one. I think this is going to be a big-time shootout.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Very little defense. Jade Daniels, is a great quarterback. I think that Jackson Dart has to respond well after having a lackluster performance against Alabama. Ole Miss is playing at home. I think that favors them. But I think LSU just has one more play and squeezes it out. LSU's favored by 3. I'll take them by 3-6.
Is this the night game by chance?
This is a 5 o'clock kickoff.
Oh, beautiful.
Central time.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, this, like the A&M Arkansas matchup, is a sneaky good rivalry game. Like, Ole Miss, LSU fans do not like each other. Very good game pretty much every year. And with it being at home, Graham, I agree with your point. I think Jackson Dart bounces back, and I think it's a shootout. I've got 41-38 going to the Ole Miss Rebels. I think Lane Kiffin gets his first big signature win at Ole Miss and effectively eliminates LSU from title contention because I think that secondary is vulnerable, and I think Kiffin is salivating at what he can do schematically to get some matchups going. I will say the only thing I'm concerned about, and then we can kind of move on, there's some rumblings that Ole Miss is having some NIL locker room issues, especially with Mr. Quinshawn Judkins. Apparently, a lot of their people think he's been on cruise control this year, and that is something to monitor. If, obviously winning cures all, and losing really exposes the problems that you have. And I think after losing in Tuscaloosa this past Saturday, when they were really confident going in, maybe some of those problems have come to the surface a little bit. But with a win against LSU, they can kind of right the ship. I like Ole Miss 41-38. Big day from Jackson Dart.
I'm still waiting for somebody to mention Pete Golding's name with Ole Miss's success this year, but I guess we'll just continue to wait for that to happen. Hey, let's move on to a really fun. This isn't a rivalry. This is one of those games that it's. I mean, how can you not pull for one of these teams?
How can you not?
And my heart goes out. I got a good friend who played for one of these universities, and he was there. Let me just go ahead and spoil the matchup that I'm going to tell you about. Kansas versus Texas. He said that they won one game that year, and it was in Austin versus UT.
I remember that.
I mean, just you got to love them, because I wish that Vandy would do this like every once in a while. I wish that Vandy would just sneak on into Athens and just have people ripping their hair out. But Kansas this year actually has a pretty good team, and truly, I wish I could. Yeah, I was about to say, I wish I could remember what their projection was, but I mean, I know that they went from being at the bottom of the conference to jumping people like Baylor and Iowa State easily. So this is truly a good team versus a good UT team, and they are smelling the blood in the water. Kansas always shows up for this game. Were you going to add something, Hampton?
Is it at home or away?
Great question, Graham.
It's in Austin.
Shoot!
I think it's better because it's in UT. I think it's better. So let's start with you, Hampton. Just give me your prediction for this game. We'll kind of keep it moving right along.
Yeah, I'm going to be quick. I would love to pick Kansas here. I think the coach there, what's the coach's name? Do you know, Graham?
I mean, this dude's got
Leipold.
Leipold. Okay, that's what I thought. Lance Leipold. Done a fantastic job at that program. If y'all remember, Kansas was really humming last year. Then their quarterback got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's back this year. Jalen Daniels having a really good year again. But I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Texas in Austin. I do expect it to be a pretty close game, though. Texas has kind of gotten off to some slow starts the past couple of weeks. I think that continues, but ultimately they have too much talent and they pull away in the end. Who you got, Graham?
Yeah, I agree with you, Hampton. I think that this game right here, Jalen Daniels he's the preseason Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. I think this game he's going to cement himself in as that title. I think he's going to have a great game and it's going to be really close. However, I think the story of the game is going to be Texas showing that they're the best team in the Big 12. I think that Jalen Daniels is going to have a great game. Texas just has more weapons. They have more than a quarterback playing for them. So give me Texas at home. The line is Texas favored by 17. I'm going to go with it being Texas by 10.
I like that.
I like it. Hey, well, I'm calling this game, so they won't let me pick it, is Curb Street always said each Saturday morning. All right, let's be willing to make your tent, fellas, if you need to. This one can be fast, but if there's something that needs to be said, by all means, say it. There's no other way to ask this besides this. Hampton, is there any reason I should believe that Colorado's not about to get blown out by USC?
The only reason
You're saying there's a chance.
there's a chance.
But
USC did
more.
But wait, there is more. USC went on the road to Arizona State this past weekend.
Yeah.
And they were in a battle for the majority of that game. They really were. They won 42-28. And again, they're playing in Colorado. With that being said, I have USC winning this game, but with them struggling this past week, Colorado, I'd take Shador over Arizona State's quarterback. I'd take some of their skill players over Arizona State. So there's a chance, but not a big one. Graham, you agree or disagree?
I agree with you. I think what the game's going to come down to is this: I saw a report that Travis Hunter sent Coach Prime a text message and said, "Coach, I want to play."
Come on.
So if Travis Hunter plays, I think this is a very, very fun game.
Agreed.
If he doesn't play, I still think, regardless of whether he plays,
Coach.
I think the USC play. I think the USC wins. If he plays, Colorado's able to keep it closer than people expect. I'll point this out. The number of the game is the lowest ticket price is still $235 to get into the game. Colorado fans are still excited, whether
Because it's
believe
a
it
blue
or not.
state.
I think this game comes down to the wire, and I've got USC by 7 points.
Nice. Okay.
Okay.
I've got USC by 7.
Graham, I don't know why that hit me. What was the diagnosis of Travis Hunter's injury?
Dude had a lacerated lip.
It just felt like that text message. I don't know how Dion doesn't read that text message. Just like, oh, there just wasn't any want to. That's why he hadn't been playing. If he just had a little bit of drive, a little bit of desire to get in the game, I'd put him in there.
Just put some dirt on the liver and shake it off.
Well, here's the one thing I'll say about it is this is the last big game of the year for Colorado on the schedule, in the sense of if they lose this one, they're 3-2. They're out of the Pac-12 championship. They're out of the college football playoff, guaranteed. So this is a make or break game for Colorado. I know we talked about in the last pod that the expectation for Colorado has been too high because this team was not supposed to win that many football games. But for Colorado, I'm not saying that the season will decline rapidly after this if they lose, but if you lose to USC at home after already losing to Oregon in back-to-back weeks, that really does put puts a little bit of a damper on the excitement going on in Boulder.
So Dr. Haney says if it means something to you, you can't stand still.
Hey,
That's right.
I think it's exactly what we're getting at.
Yep.
Anybody, so Graham, I mean, just last thought on that. What would be the appropriate amount of time? Like, should he play this game, medically speaking, or is it like, man, this dude's supposed to be out for the next 3 weeks?
I don't even know what a lacerated liver is. I know what your liver is. I didn't know it could be lacerated. I'm not the medical expert in my family. I'm married to a nurse. I'll
Thank you
leave
for
that.
saying that.
Name drop.
I'll take the compliment.
I'll leave
How humble of you.
I'll leave the diagnosis to her. However, I think that it's one of those things. If there's any shot he can play, he has to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you can phone a friend and get us some medical insight to tell us someone to hand over the phone to the doctor. All right, let's get to the fun matchup. And I think that a lot of these matchups, I mean, honestly, it seems almost one-sided. There's a few, though, that were pretty fun to, hey, which side do you land on? Hampton, you said an interesting comment last pod about Bama. I would say the past few years has just not traveled well. Period. End of sentence. One of the places specifically that you should not have a problem, but we have, has been Mississippi State. So, Graham, I had someone ask me if I'd ever been to Mississippi State's campus, and I was trying to think of any route or any reason that I would have gone there. Have you ever been to Mississippi State's campus?
No.
There's a little. I'm just kind of bringing that in. Of again, Alabama shouldn't really struggle with them. Do you think they do that this week? Or do you think they take care of business?
I'm looking at this game as an optimistic Alabama fan and hoping they will play the last. They'll be able to play 4 quarters of the last 2 quarters, as Hampton has so eloquently said in a previous podcast. So I think Alabama could win this one going away, but it is hesitant. However, Mississippi State's usually a little bit better at those 11 o'clock kickoffs. This one is at 8 o'clock, so Alabama's going to be ready to go. I don't think that Mississippi is going to catch them off guard. Mississippi State's identity this year has been running the football first, throw second. I think that favors Alabama in that kind of game. If it's a battle of who can run the ball better, give me Alabama. So Alabama's favored by 14.5. Man, I don't know. Do I take them by 20? I think I might take them by 20.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, all I'll say on this game, one of the few things that Pete Golding did well at his time at Alabama, he defended Mississippi State very effectively in that air raid offense. And yes, it is true that for the majority of the year, they have tried to be run first and be physical along the line of scrimmage. I don't know what happened in Columbia. Maybe it was what happened against LSU. They said, the heck with that, and threw it 48 times. And Will Rogers had 400 yards passing against a pretty poor South Carolina defense that we could probably all agree isn't very good, especially against the pass. And that was a good bounce-back performance by them. But in the end, Alabama is just too talented, especially defensively. I don't care if they run the wishbone, the air raid. I trust this defense to shut down the Mississippi State offense. And offensively for Alabama, I'm looking to see, like I mentioned in our previous pod, how do you build off this? Does the O-line continue to gel? Does it continue to get push along the line of scrimmage, or are you able to run the ball effectively? And then Jalen Milroe, are you able to continue to improve your execution of the offense and getting rid of that one, what in the heck are you doing throw or decision of the game? If he does that, that's a win. Not only obviously beating Mississippi State, but that's a win for the rest of the year and as a progression for this team. So I've got Alabama, I think by 21 or more. I think they, honestly, in the past 2 years, the only good road performance they've had was in Starkville in 2021. So hopefully that continues. on Saturday. Looking forward to watching the game and to kind of see how they respond after beating Ole Miss.
Yeah. I don't know. I've gone back and forth on this a little bit. I guess I have two trains of thought, and I don't know which one I'm sold on. If we were actually recording this on Thursday, maybe I'd have my mind made up. There's one train of thought is that, we've probably overreacted both ways to Alabama's season already
Agreed.
of like Middle Tennessee. We're literally winning the national championship and we have the Heisman winner, to we freaking suck, everybody needs to be fired, to all right, seriously, like the dynasty is over. I mean, everything. So then last week we're like, hey, we're pretty good, minus a few moments. Like we're actually a really good team. And I'm going to say that this game, more than likely, very much will feature. I don't know if you were to say the line was 2.5 turnovers on offense, I could see it being a frustrating game to watch. Just being honest, I think that's where I'm at. I'm like, I don't think that we've shored up some of these holes, and I think that Ole Miss, like, they kind of tapped out towards the end whenever we really started to, I think, put points on them. I don't know. There's part of me that feels that. The other thing that I was going to say is that my other train of thought is that Tommy Rees, I think the pressure's still on him, because I thought the play calling was better against Ole Miss. I don't know if I can give him much more than that. I feel like his offensive scheme, and again, I know there's more factors to this. I am basically sending out that tweet to the extremely complex problem, acting like I just had the key that unlocked it all. But I felt like that was the starting point that should have been at the beginning of the season, some of the play calling we had against Ole Miss. That's where we should have started. Why we didn't start there kind of blows my mind a little bit. So what I want to see from him, even if the game is frustrating to watch at times, is just continuing to sit into, this is who's playing quarterback. We've committed to him. Let's form the whole offensive scheme around him to the point of, hey, we want Milroe running the ball blank amount of times. And we're scheming to that, not just looking up, calling plays. So, Hampton, I could tell that I struck a couple of nerves, and I don't know which way. So before we get out of here, correct me, push back a little bit, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, well, I don't think you necessarily said anything wrong. I do think he needs to do a better job of generating easy yards, easy completions, and a scheme that really accentuates what Jalen Milroe does well, which is the job of any offensive coordinator, any good offensive coordinator. I think my thing is, I had a problem more with what he did against South Florida than I did against what he did against Texas, because, like I mentioned, which I don't think you were here for that reaction, because you had some stuff that you had to do, and
so sketchy.
He had to make some back alley deals, everybody. He had some prior obligations. That's a better way to put it.
Business. What can I say?
But my main problem with that game is, you scheme up 3 touchdowns and your quarterback just doesn't execute.
Yeah.
And even on Saturday, like, I thought he did a good job. Just execution has to be better, from the offensive line to the running backs and pass protection to the quarterback. And I felt like in the second half, you saw that the execution, like, the run blocking got a lot better. And when the run blocking gets better, the pass protection is going to get better, because they're going to respect your ability to to run the ball a little bit. And so the play action really works, because you got people sucking up, those linebackers, those safeties sucking up to defend the run, and you can hit deep shots down the field. So it works hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Yes, he can do things that are better. Like, I think throwing in a 3rd and 10 situation and drop back pass, probably not the best with Jalen Milroe right now. Like the 3rd and goal, like throwing it there, probably should have just ran it and taken the points, because he is not at a point where he can consistently go through full level reads at a consistent rate. Not saying he can't do it, but just from a snap-to-snap basis, you can't always count on it and he's got a little bit of that reckless streak. So I didn't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. I just wanted to add a little bit, kind of more context to it. And then one more thing before we get out of here, I just want to make a note that I haven't mentioned this. Shout out to Washington. I think Washington might be the best team in the country right now. They absolutely throttled California, and their offense is high flying. They're fun to watch. Michael Penix.
Yeah.
I know they haven't really played stiff competition yet. That'll come later in the year. But I want to give them a little bit of a love because I feel like we haven't talked about them much. So shout out to the one Husky fan that listens to us.
I thought Hampton was going to have this tender moment where he brought us all in together and said, just one more thing. Just want to say I love you guys. Hey, well, man, this show is a ton of fun to watch. I hope you enjoy, or a ton of fun recording it. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. So
I got Georgia, by the way. Graham, you got Georgia?
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. I was just getting that in there.
Yeah. We had
Don't
Auburn,
even need to talk
UGA,
about it.
Yeah, Auburn UGA. Hey, listen to a spicy note. Who trots out as the starter for Auburn on Saturday? Now that's a question.
That is a question. Probably Peyton Thorne.
I don't even know if I know what your options are. Honestly, I'd give you multiple choice, but I'm not sure if I know.
I'd almost play the freshman or redshirt Holden Garner. I'd almost try him out at this point.
I think you got to start Thorne, but I think the leash is probably really short. I mean, what do you have to lose?
Hey, it was short against A&M. They put Robbie Ashford in, then Robbie Ashford couldn't hit a pass to save his life either. But at least he gives you a running threat. I mean, I don't know.
Last thought. I thought on Saturday as I was watching Auburn's game, wanting them to show up and it's just fun watching A&M fans just still believe even after defeat. But there was a portion of me that I was watching that game and I was just thinking, I don't know if you were to gather all the quarterbacks in Alabama, in the state of Alabama, and if we could put them all together and have a Heisman winner at this point, or even really, it's just been really disappointing. Milroe played really well after the fact, but just both teams have really struggled, which has been uncharacteristic and worth noting. And I love you guys.
Yeah. Hey, if you put my performance on the band field at Troy, I think you'd have a Heisman winning quarterback.
I mean, Gunnar Watson for Troy hadn't looked amazing, but I know we're not here to break that down. But anyways, well, fellas, I've enjoyed it. Hey, hope you enjoyed listening to it. Is our second closing of this episode. Well, hey, the Pigskin Cafe is going to be closed for now, but until next week, chew on that. We'll see you soon.